What is going on, guys? I'm back again with another spearfishing video. I'm going back to Barview Jetty, but this time I have a dive buddy that I met from the Oregon Freediving and Spearfishing group, Facebook group, which I'm pretty stoked about because this time we can get a little bit ballsier with exploring the end of the jetty instead of kind of staying on the inside, which I've been doing. So yeah, if the spearfishing stuff interests you, you're definitely going to want to stick around for that. But without further ado, I'm going to kind of just let the diving here speak for itself, and I'm really hoping for some lings, guys, because last time, as you know, we got skunked. I'll throw the clip in right here. Yeah, it was a pretty massive disappointment that day. So hopefully, at the very least, some rockfish. We're gonna aim to get some ling. Yeah, let's get into it. All right, another thing, I thought you guys would appreciate this story, kind of being the beginner-ish spear fisherman that I am. The first couple months that I was going out, I pretty much didn't see any other spear fishermen. Until one day, it was a really nice conditions day, like super great visibility. The sun was out, and I was at the jetty. And this guy came up to me. I think his name was Mark. Shout out Mark if you're watching this. And he was like, "Yeah, hey bro, like, come join us. We're in a group here. We're all spear fishermen, you know, please." Like, he was just super friendly and inviting, and it was totally awesome vibes. I kind of ended up doing my own thing because I hopped in just a little bit before them, but it was really nice that he threw out that invite. And I got this feeling that, like, oh, okay, sweet, like I'm new to the hobby, like these spear fishermen are super inviting. So fast forward to like 5 or 6 dives later, I roll up to the parking lot by myself, and I see a group of spear fishermen getting in, and I eagerly rolled up to them in my truck, and I rolled the window down, and I was like, "Hey, are you guys?" And I just right off the bat was giving off the same vibes that I was given the last time. And they were a group of older guys who probably all knew each other, so I'm not gonna like hate too hard. But they looked at me, and they kind of just gave me that mean mug, like, "Why are you talking to us?" I kind of just picked up on, because I was like, "Yeah, I'll probably join you guys over here," and their faces kind of just went like, and then I was like, "Yeah, okay, actually I'm gonna be spearfishing over that way, so you guys have a good time." But I just thought it was kind of funny because, like, I was just under the assumption that everyone was like that, and then I kind of inserted myself into that whatever was going on there, and it was definitely not the vibes that they were going for. So yeah, I just kind of felt like an idiot. But you know, gotta form your own connections and form your own buddy systems here, so I get it. But yeah, I'm excited to go meet up and meet some new people. Alright, I know I gave that huge speech about going with a dive buddy and how everyone should have a dive buddy. So the footage that you're seeing in this video from this point on, actually on this day, because this is going to be 2 days worth of footage, there was no dive buddy on the first day. The day that I actually met up with that guy from Facebook, it was kind of more of an evening dive, and the visibility was terrible that day. So I chose not to really include any of that footage. Plus I only got like 2 small fish on camera, but guys, I more than made up for it over the weekend with this insane visibility and the perfect footage from 2 days worth of basically limiting out what you're about to see. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but there were some absolute monsters out there. Plus, me going with a dive buddy was technically still true at this point, because on day 2, there was a guy in the parking lot who just happened to be there. He was a super cool guy, and we ended up kind of diving together. So it made up for, the lack of footage from the first dive experience. But for the first dive partner I had, really cool guy, and he definitely had a lot more experience than myself. So yeah, it was awesome nonetheless. And as you can see right off the bat, I get my first rockfish. The schools were insane this day. I mean, you saw it in that first clip. They were definitely out and about. But yeah, guys, I don't want to spoil too much, but this ends up being the smallest rockfish of both days. And here you're going to see how I reload my spear gun. It can be kind of a pain in the butt sometimes when you're, getting slammed against the rocks or if it's poor visibility. But, I've been getting a lot faster at it the more I go out. So, yeah, I actually really like this spear gun. I feel like it's the perfect happy medium on both rockfish and lingcod, which is mainly what I'm targeting here on the Oregon coast. Yeah, it's got some range when you need it to, but it's also kind of maneuverable for the smaller hole hunting type of experiences. And yes, you just watched me do that epic fail like 3 times in a row, trying to re-rig this spear gun for the next shot. But I'm just being real with you guys, and that's kind of what it looks like from a beginner perspective. I'm pretty consistent with it now, but it definitely takes some practice and getting used to. All right, and even though I'm swimming through a literal river right now, basically with how strong the current is, I am still gearing up to go back down there again. I'm determined to make use of this time before slack tide because I got out there early. I was eager. I was ready to go. But I'll let you judge this next event, which turned out to be a win and fail simultaneously. I'll let the footage speak for itself. So yeah, the shaft gets wedged real good in a rock there, and I'm not about to be wrangling that in the current, testing my breath hold more than I ever have with no dive partner. So I just surface, and I essentially take the line that's my float line that's connected to everything else, and I kind of swim it up current a little bit because I know that when I dive, the current is going to carry me, and I want to land directly over the stuck shaft. But what's interesting is you saw that shot. It was kind of a lonesome rockfish sitting there. He looked really big. I shot him and I got a really good shot placement actually. But this is why I don't like shooting fish from the top down unless I absolutely have to, because you run the risk of getting something stuck like I did. In this situation, it was worth it. And to my surprise, yeah, Buddy was still on there after like 15 minutes of wrangling with this. Now you guys can see why I said it was a mixture of good and bad luck, but we got the fish in this case, so I was really happy to get my second one on the board for the day. But no, let's not celebrate too early. You know what? Actually, they should just rename spearfishing Good Luck, Bad Luck, because I feel like that's exactly what this game is it's a massive game of good luck, bad luck, where you have misses and wins, highs and lows. But that's just what makes it so amazing, and that's why we get addicted to it. And I'm further proving my point with this clip right here. And my number one priority when I land a big fish like this is to get it on the stringer first. That has been a habit of mine that I've been trying to get into. Anyways, this clip coming up right here is the only bad interaction I had all weekend. The guy got pretty pissed, but yeah, his fishing line got kind of tangled in me, which you'll see I ended up just kind of flopping it over my line and everything was good, but he actually yelled out something at me in anger, and honestly, it was a frustrating situation for both of us, but what can I say? When the current is ripping and I have all that line attached to me in my spear gun, there's not a whole lot I can do aside from going further out into the bay, which I was kind of trying to avoid having to do in this situation. But this is just one of the few cons that comes with spearfishing in the jetty itself, especially on really nice days like this, because sometimes you'd much rather just be in like a wild location, which is hopefully what I'm going to do soon. But guys, when I said the conditions were amazing on this weekend, take a look at this video right here. This is exactly what I envisioned when I started spearfishing in Oregon. Everything about this is perfect. The scenery, the visibility, the amount of fish. And another good one on the board for the day. And that's actually going to mark my limit of 4 rockfish for the day. But don't worry, there are other things to be speared. Look at how close I was able to get to this guy, almost touching him. Obviously, I'm not going to spear another rockfish, but just thought it was kind of funny with how good the visibility was and how carefree the fish seemed to be. And this is when the spearfishing starts getting interesting here in this next drop. This is where my focus starts to shift away from rockfish and into ling. I'm diving down to the bottom at this point and just scanning the rocks for any type of ling because I know that they camouflage in a little bit better. And I didn't even see him at first, but this guy, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a ling just kind of fly by and shoot it for safety under one of the rocks. And I pulled the trigger, and I didn't even really know if I had him at this point. I'm immediately trying to wrap my mind around what just happened. Meanwhile, the guys on the rocks are trying to strike up conversation. What's up? No crab, just big fish. I just shot one, I think, but we're about to see. My pole got stuck. Yeah. I got 4 rockfish already, so I'm going for ling now. They were actually really cool, so shout out to them, whoever they were. I was full of adrenaline at this point and definitely not mentally prepared to wrangle this potential ling, but I dove down anyways, and as you can see, it was an unsuccessful attempt at trying to get him out. Oh yeah, he's on there. All right, I gotta go grab him. And I was not about to let down the spectators. Yeah! All right. Yeah. It's blue.
Oh yeah, those are good.
Are you guys just crabbing? I've seen some here and there, but not a whole lot. And just like that, let's hop into day 2 of spearfishing on the jetty. Now, As you can tell, it's not quite as sunny today. With that thick fog rolling over, you can't help but feel like this is kind of a sharky environment, which sounds like an exaggeration, but we'll get into that subject and what exactly happened on this day here in a little bit. On this first dive of the day, the current wasn't ripping as hard as it was yesterday because I kind of corrected for the timing in which I got in. But that being said, with the calm water, I still wasn't seeing any schools of rockfish at this point. After a few more dives with the same results, I noticed a small school of surf perch swimming off in the distance, and usually they're a lot more skittish and just harder to get, but in this visibility I was able to snipe this guy. Now, he wasn't huge by any means, but it was a decent-sized surf perch for what I saw that day. Alright, now that I have my first fish of the second day landed, I guess I'll tell you guys about what I meant regarding that shark comment earlier. So, long story short, in the freediving and spearfishing Facebook group that I'm a part of, I like to check it after a good weekend of diving, and I noticed a comment by this guy who claims that a great white shark bit his friend's fin while they were diving near the central Oregon coast. Now keep in mind, I'm a bit further north of that by like an hour or two, but it's still interesting hearing about any great white encounter so close to where I'm actually in the water, especially if the encounter is happening at the exact same time as my dive. But the big cherry on top of this all is that in the crabbing Facebook group, which I'm not a part of, but someone posted a screenshot in the spearfishing one saying that a few fishermen down south and on the Oregon coast saw a large great white fully breach out of the water, like on Shark Week if you've ever seen them do that, which is pretty noteworthy and unique behavior for this area. So there were essentially 2 great white sightings in Oregon on the day of my dive. But no, I don't have a crazy video or story of me running into one in the wild, which I actually hope never happens. But whether there's proof or not, it's still fun to relay this info about these large sharks in the area to you guys, because it's not something you hear about every day. Anyways, it was on this dive here, shortly after that surf perch, that I actually started to see good rockfish activity. But of course I had to miss. I mean, remember what I said earlier about good luck, bad luck? It wouldn't be a spearfishing day if that wasn't playing out again. Honestly, this was a rough start to the day because even when I thought I was going to get lucky, I ended up totally missing the ball, as shown in this clip right here. I thought I had him, but I guess I might have been too far and the shot placement was weird, so it kind of only went in halfway and then came right out.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
Nice rockfish out here.
Oh, I'll go under it. You remember how I said I met a random dive buddy in the parking lot? Well, this was him, and he was a super cool guy the whole time.
There's some good stuff down there, huh?
Yeah. It felt good to have someone next to you just in case anything were to happen, especially since it was a Sunday, which was a slower day at the jetty, and less people were around. And just like that, a good rockfish on the board for day 2, and a decent sized one at that too. Let me tell you, when you have the GoPro effect going on, the fish look a lot smaller on camera than they seem in person, especially when they're off in the distance when you first shoot them. But I was able to get some very solid fillets off these guys. I think the largest one that I got of the day measured in at 17.5 inches, which that's not a small rockfish. I'm sure people have done better, but for me personally, as far as jetty rockfish go, that's a pretty solid one. Also, just to be fully transparent, I am not shooting rockfish every time I see a school like this. In this particular example, I saw a ton of rockfish, but none of them seemed big enough to justify getting a solid fillet out of them, so I decided not to pull the trigger. Alright, now, to me, this was the most notable event of the day, where I dive down and I'm already seeing great rockfish schools, but I decided to swim all the way down to the bottom just because I want to get a good look at things, get a good lay of the land, and I'm looking around. I already love what I'm seeing, and I pick one out that already looks pretty big, and pull the trigger, and I get him. Now, at this point, I'm thinking the battle's already over. I've got this guy in the bag. But take a look at what happens. Right here, the shaft falls out. I guess the flopper folded over and it fell out altogether. I don't know how that happened, but I'm reeling my float back to me so that I can put this guy on the stringer. Meanwhile, I didn't even notice this happening. And this lovely event takes place.
No.
Now, looking back on it, I definitely should have knifed him before trying to put him on the stringer, but it's been kind of a priority of mine to get them on the stringer first and foremost, and I know that that's probably bad practice for some people, but I've lost fish doing it the other way, so here I am trying to correct a mistake while causing one at the same time, which I have now learned from. And do I even need to say anything about that shot? Instant lights out. Now, it didn't even go all the way through, but it was really wedged in there somehow, so I'm not going to complain. At this point, I'm attempting to chase a surf perch that I saw swimming by because it's been a few dives and I haven't really seen a whole lot of rockfish. Which leads me to one of my favorite dives of the day, and not because I got anything, but just by scenery alone. Check this one out. Of course, that ended up being my most blatant miss of the day. But at this point, I feel like I don't even have to say it again. You guys already know the theme. So, of course, I'm going to land a big one right here. And as opposed to earlier, the knife is coming immediately out this time. And apparently I was too lazy to pull it back out until I got to the stringer. Also, check out these thousands of little jellyfish. For some reason, every time the tide goes out, it's like a million jellyfish just spawn out of nowhere. Now, I guess my camera must have died before I got my actual limit, but I'll throw this clip in. And with that, let's go into the cooking part of this catch and cook. Alright, before we even get started with the cooking part, I just wanted to show you guys that yes, this one is legal. I know it looks small, but it's a little over 23 inches. Now, I kind of have a reference point with my spear gun down there. I know roughly if the fish lines up with like a certain part of the gun that it's a keeper. That being said, shooting a Lingcod this small with the legal limit being 22 is always a chance, so I'd recommend you guys don't do what I did. But yes, it is a keeper. Also, not to mention that I'm pretty sure when these things are laying on ice for an hour or two, they tend to shrink up just a little bit. So probably was a little over 23, maybe closer to 24, but yeah, regardless, it's going to be delicious. That being said, take a look at this black rockfish I shot. This thing is a monster. Yeah, this thing is almost as big as the Lingcod. I measured it at 17.5 inches. An absolute hog, but pretty proud of that one. So that's going to make some nice fillets. Alright, this is the do-it-yourself fish and chips / fish tacos starter pack right here. As you can see, we're about to get ready for some crispy tacos. Alright, I got my fillet station here right next to all the ingredients. The fish are in there, and also had to throw on the Nike camo clogs. It's the only proper footwear for this kind of work. All right, let's see what we're working with today. Let's start off with the prized fish of the day, the nice ling we got here. Look at this absolute behemoth rockfish. I'm pretty sure this thing is on roids or something. This guy's been hitting the gym. And this is the smallest one of the day. But wait, there's more. We got 2 little surf perch as well. So the other one is tiny, but probably shouldn't have even gone for it, but it looked a lot bigger underwater. So hopefully these guys taste good. Take a look at that pile of fish meat that we have. That is going to be amazing. Base seasoning. That. All right. Sizzling. Had to get that Tillamook cheese because I'm fishing pretty much in Tillamook, so. Got all the hot sauces on deck. Look at how delicious that looks. I'm gonna throw some of this lethal ingestion on there. Battered was the way to go. Well, I chowed down the rest of those tacos in peace. Not to end the video too abruptly, but I hope you guys enjoyed this catch and cook. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out because it definitely helps out the channel a lot. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching.